Major announcement. I'm done, guys. I am done. There's a lot going on in MMA. I've got a lot to say about it. And I feel like it's limiting a lot of people, myself included. So tonight, we're going to make a big change, guys. We're making a big change tonight. We're going to get into all of that. All right. I'm done with Nina Drama. I'm done with Conor McGregor. I'm done with Brendan Schaub. I'm done with MMA in general. Big updates coming, guys. It's not necessarily what you're thinking, but it needs to be said. So we're going to get into all that. I don't mean to try and leave you on like a cliffhanger right now, but it's a more in-depth subject. So I can't have like a punchy one line for it, right? It's a little bit more complex, a little bit more nuanced. Let me check the chat right now. Let me tap in. Okay. Everybody, hey man, go get a real one shirt. You know what I'm saying? Go get a real one shirt. I'm pinning the message. Only if you're a real one, though. All right, we got John Hogan in the chat. Hi, everyone. We got Aubrey in the chat, the real ones. We got Arpon, the Don. Let's go. We are live. Hey guys, can you like the actual video for me, please? Apparently that helps the algorithm. Appreciate you. And shout out to everybody that subscribed, man. We're like about to crack 600 subscribers. Crack it open like butt cheeks. You know what I mean? No problem, no worries. And just the other day, we were at 86 subscribers. You know, now we're cracking 600, so no telling what we might do next. We might pop through 1,000, no problem. Super chats and super likes are enabled. The first person to drop a super like, they dropped a buck. And I was like, you know what? You dropped a buck. I'm sending you a fucking Fight Circus t-shirt. The Felony Charles Bennett edition. I'm giving you the shirt off my back. Speaking of shirts, cop a real one shirt. But yeah, so no telling what might happen. You drop a super like, good things happen. So drop a super chat. No telling what we might do, right? Anyways, guys, all right. My name is King David MMA. I'm a professional MMA champion, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I coach and I train at the greatest gym on the planet, Extreme Couture. There's a little bit of a situation tonight at XC, which we can learn from, guys. So I'm able to bring the lessons from the mat here, and we're going to get a little bit deeper tonight than we usually do. Some people, sometimes I go off the deep end, I get a little deep, and some people really appreciate it. In fact, one of my students just dropped me like a 1 minute voice memo because in a previous chat I was like, dude, there's a future version of you that can give advice to this version of you, so you could project yourself into the future and either talk to that future version of you, or that future version of you is looking back at another future version of you as already attained your goals, right? And then how would the far future version look at the future version that's attained your goal? They would be like, oh, super confident. They'd feel good. They'd be like, oh, it all worked out, right? And then you could like pop back into this version of you with that type of confidence. Anyways, it was really cool. He dropped me like a whole minute. He's like bugging out. He says maybe it's God talking to him. He said, here's his words, not mine. He said, this is either God talking to me or the autism. Okay. So he said he doesn't know which one it is. It could be either or both, you know. All right, so the reason why I'm saying I'm done with Nina Drama, Conor McGregor, Brendan Schaub, and MMA in general, because I feel like I've been using a lot of like clickbaity headlines with like a negative tone to them as a crutch, right? And the reason I'm bringing this up, because there's a concept. It's called constraints. So let's say I want to get my guard retention better. Well, I might tie one of my arms, maybe my dominant arm, to my gi or just put it in my belt. Now, with my arm in my belt, I have to get really good at just positioning myself. I'll start inverting more. I'll repummel my legs more. If I have both my hands in my belt, well, I've constrained myself even more. So I have to have an even greater level of creativity. So my point being, I want to add as much value as I can, right, to the people who come to the channel, they watch, subscribe. And I feel like I'm just kind of like, it's like the lowest hanging fruit. Oh my gosh, Brandon Schaub crashes out, when reality it's a lot more nuanced than that, right? I'm a Brandon Schaub fan, and I get blasted in the comments because I read all the comments and I write back to every comment. So I see what the people are saying, but like, it's not a black and white issue on most issues. It's not Conor McGregor's totally wrong or Nina Drama's this or whatever, right? There's like a vast area of nuance in most subjects. So with this theory of constraint, for the foreseeable future, moving forward, I'm going to constrain myself from saying anything or implying anything negative about anybody. Now, you might go, dude, what about your views? Well, guess what, man? Like you have a choice, right? In life. You can either hone in on your authenticity and attract the people that are meant to be around you, or you can do things like, hey, look over here. Brendan Schaub crashed out, right? And then you get like a different energy coming your way that over time you may not care to sustain. So, moving forward, we're going to get a little bit more weird on the channel. We're going to get a little more in depth and we're going to get a little more practical. I'm sweating like a motherfucker up in here. All right. And so, what that means is like, I'm super into spirituality and success and the interface of both. Like, for instance, we had a Venn diagram, like a bunch of spiritual concepts, a bunch of success concepts, the area in the middle. And I'm not doing the Illuminati, guys, the area in the middle where they converge, right? Like that area I really like. I really like the nuance of things. I like the ancient wisdom of things. I like a lot of conceptual ideas. Like right now, we're talking about the theory of constraints, right? And so how putting self-imposed constraints on you, you can enhance your creativity, right? So what's your goal? So I'll say this: coaching at Extreme Couture. I'll tell a student, "What's your goal?" Oh man, I want to do better. Well, in what? The short term in this round against that particular teammate, or do you want to build a skill, right? So sometimes by not playing your A game against someone you can beat, you can actually constrain yourself, give them an opportunity to have more offense to give against you. Now, they're going to think they did well against you, but you might be building a skill like wrestling up from bottom half guard, wrestling up from bottom half guard. Well, you might get your guard passed, you might get darced, you might get front headlocked, but over the course of time, you're going to develop a skill, right? So in the short term, you're going to take L's, but in the long term, you're going to have a greater win. So the same thing here, right? Can I make another video? Brendan Schaub lost it or whatever, or can I just go have some critical take of something he said on his live and then spin it into some positivity? Because actually, man, I enjoy the dude's podcast, right? Like, so what am I doing over here? Posting up a bunch of clickbaity ass bullshit, right? When I don't even have a problem with the dude, you know what I mean? So I'm using him as an example because he's one of the people that if you are a YouTube creator and you mention him in your thumbnail, you, for whatever reason, at least on my channel, I get a substantial amount of views, right? So also, furthermore, I believe, let's say Nina Drama, while she's got a lot of drama going on with her and Armand, she's like one of the most talented creators out. And that's like a take that is contrarian to the general population who's essentially kind of like anti Nina. Like, oh man, she's an industry plant. Oh, Nina's just, there's a lot of like negativity towards Nina. And I was watching an interview with Cyril Gahn, and it was a cool interview. DC did a good job, and DC's talking about playing basketball. So DC's interesting, right? DC was interesting in the interview. But for whatever reason, in that interview, Cyril Gahn wasn't interesting to me. Like DC asked him, hey, so in terms of like what does this fight mean to you? What does this fight against Alex Pereira mean? And Cyril Gahn's answer was a lot, right? And that like left me thinking that Cyril was just a kind of a boring dude. But I saw an interview with Nina Drama and Cyril Gahn. And now Cyril Gahn lights up. For whatever reason, Nina Drama brought it out of him. And I was like, dude, I fucking like this guy. So now, and people can criticize her all they want. I watched the interview with Serial Gone, who I thought was just like a quiet French MMA fighter that's shy on camera and doesn't talk. And when I watched the interview that she did with him, I'm like, dude, this guy is fucking kind of charismatic. I started kind of wanting the dude to win. And I'm like, I wouldn't have seen this side of him had it not been for Nina, right? So Nina's out here making people who don't have a ton of like, um, let's call it like media training or whatever we'll call it. She's bringing it out of them. That's a talent. Furthermore, like Conor. I'm a Conor McGregor supporter. My favorite time in MMA history was Conor's run. Dude, me and my boy James Toller, every fucking day when Conor was going to fight Floyd, we were like texting, calling each other, oh shit, can Conor do it? Can Conor do it, man? And then when Conor dropped Paulie Malignaggi and they hadn't leaked the tape yet, and it was like a controversy and all that shit, right? Or we could talk about like, oh my gosh, Conor's on coke, and I think he's cleaned up, right? But what's a better headline if you want to just get clicks, right? So what I'm saying is this: in any area of your life, use this as a metaphor. Are we looking for quantity of clicks, or are we looking for quality of clicks? So that's the whole real one concept, right? I don't want 10 million dumbass subscribers. I'd rather have 1 million real ones. I'd rather have a unified front of people on the same wavelength. So I need to act more authentic towards that, even down to the thumbnails, guys. Now, this ties into something that happened at Extreme Couture today. So there's multiple coaches at the gym. And in one of the practices, one of the coaches was holding everyone accountable to signing into class. And another coach was there helping sign people in. Everybody was sat down and being checked in individually. Like, hey, if we say your name, you can go, right? Now, somebody got up without their name being called and started walking. And one of the coaches was like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, what do you mean? I'm signing in. And he had like an attitude, right? And then the coach was like, what the fuck is this? So one coach was like, oh, dude, he's just signing in. The other coach felt like, dog, he's being disrespectful. But here, both coaches are right. It depends on the authenticity of which path the gym aligns with. You get what I'm saying? So, like, let's say we were to create a gym, an imaginary gym. People think it's about the training. People think it's about the techniques. People think it's about the tactics, the mats, the colors, the marketing, the sales, what, like anything, right? But at a higher level, what does it really come down to? It comes down to the value structure, right? Because in an instance like that, what value do you default to? Hey, man, he's cool. He's just trying to sign in, which is an understanding, tolerant value structure. Or fuck that. Students respect coaches, which is a more militant, disciplined structure. Now, they both have their pluses and minuses. But unless there's something above the individual coaches organizing the coaches in a manner where they can both agree on a value structure, then there's going to be division amongst students because some students will go rock there, some students will rock there. Now it's going to cause, well, did you see what so-and-so said? Well, I think this. Da, 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 da. No, bro. If there's a fucking higher overarching value structure, that's how you can move forward with everything in accordance with the alignment that the top-down leadership has created, right? So what I'm saying is this: when it comes to this channel, right, as the person making the fucking clickbait ass thumbnails and all that, now, if I'm over here talking about real ones, wouldn't it mean that I should adhere to my own value structure? So shouldn't I put a more authentic, Although in my head, I'm like, dude, this is virtuous. I'm meeting people where they're at. I'm putting a clickbait thing up there. They're clicking. I'm fucking switching and swatching and I'm doing like this fucking Tank would call it a keto, where I bring in somebody on a clickbait and then I'm weave in a positive message, right? But wouldn't it be more authentic to just start from the top and go, hey, man, here's what this channel's about. Here's what we believe in. If I have to operate under the constraints of that, well, then that will cause me to be more creative, which on this channel, it being the name of the fucking channel, there is some form of like leadership role with what is decided, what direction the channel will go in, right? And then so my creativity will be enhanced and I'll grow as a creator. So what is the downside to that? A bunch of people clicking on some shit, but I wouldn't resonate with those people anyway. And if you guys are real ones and you're in the chat, you probably don't real resonate with them anyway. So now I'm going to attract them to the channel. What are we doing? Right? So before I start worrying about what's happening externally, this, that, the other, oh, that coach, this coach, right? Like, why don't I tend to my own fucking YouTube channel? So conceptually, I'm on this wave of constraint right now. Like, how can I put constraint in my life to foster more creativity? Anyway, let me check the chat real quick. If we're getting too deep into fucking out in left field, let me know, guys. Wrestling World says, still betting on Conor. Conor did great against Mayweather, in my opinion. Got to give him credit. Yeah, man, he won rounds. I don't give a fuck what the judges said. Conor McGregor won rounds, which is impressive. And, maybe they let the fight go a little longer. He would have got his second win, came back in what would it have been, the 11th, and KO'd him stiff. He landed a great uppercut too. And that's one of the reasons why I believe boxing in a lot of ways is fake, because it's just such a limited rule set that, like, how on earth can someone say Conor's not a boxer, yet he went 10 rounds with Floyd? Doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so I think Conor did great. I think Conor is a boxer in addition to being an MMA fighter. I think that we're not limited or defined by terms. I think that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience over a timeline that we perceive to be linear, right? But we are not fixed points on that timeline. We are actually, as a human, we're a continuum, right? So I'm a baby and I'm an old man. I'm a white belt and I'm a black belt. That me, King David, is all of those things, right? Just at different times on the timeline, right? So the identity you have right now doesn't have to be your reality in the future. So if, let's say, you're an amateur fighter, well, you could also be a pro champion, right? But the timeline hasn't caught up to that, but you could be both. So you don't have to. The biggest thing, the number one place I see this is when people say that they're strikers or grapplers. I'm a striker. You can learn to grapple. I'm a grappler. Dude, you can learn to strike. You don't have, it doesn't have to be exclusive. You can do more than one thing. You can develop. You can, in any area of your life. Let me check the chat real quick. Do you think it's undermining another coach's authority? It's a conversation that the two coaches have to have with each other. It's not a big deal. This stuff happens, but you can avoid that when there is an overarching value structure, right? So oftentimes in life, things come down to communication. So let's say it's a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, right? But there's no overarching value structure. Well, then two people will have conflict, and who do they default to? Well, if this dude's going, I'm the man, default to me, and the woman's going, what do you mean? Women can do anything, right? Well, then they have a conflict. But if either one of them had a value structure that they both aligned with, like, let's, in this example, say that, like, the final word comes down to the man. Well, then he would go, I'm the man, listen to me. She'd go, okay, daddy. You know what I mean? Like, it would be that simple. But if it were the other way around, women can do anything, and then maybe he listens to her, it could potentially go the other way. Although some people would say that's not in alignment with most people's nature. The point is being that when there's agreed upon value structure, which is this is a positive of having a religion, right? Is that when there's individual opinion, it will go on in theory into an overarching endless argument potentially Because if two people see, I think it should be this, I think it should be this, right? Well, what does God say? So then in theory, rather than imagining God as a dude with the white beard in a cloud in the sky, we could, for the sake of this conversation, imagine God, right, as a set of rules above human opinion, right? So it's just a rule book. Like it, and obviously I believe God is way more than that. But what I'm saying is, for the sake of this discussion, as a functional tool, the religion can be above the opinion. So then when there's two conflicts of opinion, they default to the religion. So in the example of the man and the woman, let's say it was a Christian household, they would go, hey, the man submits himself to God, the woman submits to the man. That's how they would run it, right? And then when there was a conflict, she would default to him, but he would default to the word, right? And now we have a structure that we can operate through, rather than having to constantly debate and argue and who's right and who's wrong and hear both sides out. No, there's no hearing this out. There's something above it. There's something above the opinion, if that makes sense. I know we're getting kind of I know we're getting kind of crazy out here. We're getting a little deep. So that to me is what, whether it's a religion or a agreed upon value structure or the mission statement of a business. Like, somebody was DMing me today about rash guards. Coach, what kind of rash guards do you like? I want to start a rash guard business. Okay, but like, in the actual business structure, what would the goal be? Let's say it was, hypothetically, we create, I don't know if this is even possible, but like organic cotton rash guards that do not leave microplastics in the user, and we donate to women's education overseas in places where women are not allowed to be educated or something, right? Like, and then that was the structure of the rash guard company. Well, that would appeal to a certain avatar, right? So that would be probably a lot of women that train jujitsu, a lot of women that surf, etc. And then every decision that rash guard company makes is filtered through those value structures. Hey, we believe in educating people. We believe in equality. We believe, right? And then there could be a different company from the same person. And these are the ideas that they could explore. It's like, hey, these rash guards are durable and they last for 10 years or more, guaranteed. We give a percentage to military vets and first responders, and our entire company, we hire military veterans. Then when you have a hiring decision, right, you go, hey man, so and so wants to apply. Hey, are they a military vet? No. Well, then they don't work here. You get what I'm saying? So the value structure dictates the decisions. So once the value structure is agreed upon, which can also involve a mission statement, then you have a framework from within, like, from within which you could operate. Does that make sense? So that, I know we're getting deep in the weeds here. We got Chris in the building, real one. Let's freaking go. We got user SY with the fire emoji. You know how we do. Yeah. So at least for me right now, I feel like the play is to use the theory of constraints, constrain myself intentionally. That will foster more creativity, right? And then I will have a more authentic connection with those people who I resonate with. You see how that works? So, like, here's what's happening. And you guys peep it. I created a theme for the video. I explained the theme like as a teaching methodology, right? And then I'm implementing it as we speak, right? So this is another theory. This is called learn, do, teach, right? So as I'm learning more and more about philosophy, because my girlfriend is a genius and she has a degree in philosophy, so a lot of these concepts that I like to like just throw out there, she's like, no, that was Descartes or what he said this, that's me. And then I'm like, what? And now I'm reading like the ancient philosophers, And I'm discovering all this crazy shit because there's a whole world of this out there that's already been thought about, right? And written down and pondered upon. And so there's a framework called learn, do, teach, right? So as you learn, like, hey man, I feel like sometimes if I just say I'm going to only triangle people in class, my triangle gets better. Or if I say, hey, I'm going to see how much I can defend against these white belts, right? Without actually ever closing my hands or trying to secure a grip. I'm just like always trying to be in the right position. And I don't want to use my hands, but if I do, I always use open hands, right? So that's a constraint. But then you learn about the theory of constraint, right? And how it can foster creativity. And then you're like, oh shit, okay, then I learned it. Now I'm doing it by changing the entire structure of my YouTube channel, right? And I'm teaching it in a video on the YouTube channel where I'm implementing the thing I just learned by changing the YouTube channel. You get what I'm saying? My girlfriend sounds cool, bro. Yeah, dude, she's beyond cool, man. Hey, and I got called gay today on a podcast for talking about my girlfriend so much. All right, so that so one of my favorite things to do, guys, is to interject my girlfriend's awesomeness into conversations that have nothing to do with it. So if I'm at the gym and some of the students are talking about kickboxing, I'll just bring up the fact that I'm learning Chinese, because my girlfriend's fluent in Chinese and she's helping me learn Chinese, and then I'll just start talking about that anyway. So yeah, I got called gay on a podcast. I did the Still Friends Show podcast today, and then I was going off, and he's like, "Bro, you're so gay," and then I'm like, "Bro, you're gay." You know how I know you're gay? Because you're gay. No, it's fine. But we did talk on several subjects. We talked the UFC White House card. We talked Mayhem Miller from Bully Beatdown. We talked about his fight on Fight Circus. We ate some poke at this place in Container Park. They got good fucking poke. It's called the Poke Shack. And yeah, if you guys want some actual fresh fish, that place is the spot in Vegas. I had never had it, but man, that place was fucking bananas. So yeah, and then we got off onto a couple tangents because he started saying that he was transgender. You know what I mean? The podcast, we're gonna drop the pod soon, guys. But in the meantime, I'm really excited about this constraint that I'm putting on myself. And hopefully I can add like some deeper insights into some shit that's helped me out. And maybe you guys could take it or run with it or not, leave it where it's at if you don't resonate with it. But yeah, I'm gonna actually start like curating conscious videos, if that makes any sense. Like I'm gonna actually, rather than just go like Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway, as exciting as that is, and I'm down to do that. Yeah, like I love MMA. But at the same time, what's more fascinating to me is Conor McGregor's mindset, his use of law of attraction, his visualization principles. And then like to juxtapose that with Max Holloway's like it is what it is, his total acceptance, his zenness of it all, right? And then like that could be a video which has its own lane that nobody's approaching things from that I think would be really dope. And then we could get like really conceptual and really philosophical and really what's a good word for it? Like almost like new concept, like creating a new ground together. You know what I mean? Like a new like ideas. And then I pop on the chat and then somebody says something and then I'm like, what? I never thought of that. Oh shit. How would that play in? So for instance, Aubrey was like, you think it's he's talking about coach's authority, right? Which is a great question. And then it's like both coaches have authority, right? But if there was a value structure, then it's like who is defaulting to the value structure above them? You get what I'm saying? And then so in the current context, the value structure would be like whose class is it, right? And then you know what I mean? Like, but if there were a higher value structure above that value structure, that would be an interesting conversation to have as well. John Hogan says, I'm interested. Yeah, man, we're going to get weird, guys. We are getting weird. So expect a little change to the thumbnails and to the clickbait title. And I know, man, I kind of even did it right now, right? I'm done with Nina Drama, Conor McGregor, Brendan Schaub, and MMA in general. Here's why. Yeah, and like, is that's kind of clickbaity, right? That's kind of clickbaity. Even though it's kind of true, it's like, where do you draw the line? So then that's an interesting, like, my other goal. So I'm just keeping it real with you guys. I want to stop saying the word like. And I've been catching myself saying like. And I'm so if you hear me start to kind of pause, sometimes I'm catching myself saying a filler word. Like like I also have a tendency to say right a lot. And I believe that's because, and some people don't know this, I've done like over $2 million. See, I said like again. You see what but I'm catching myself now. I've done over $2 million in fitness sales within an 18-month period, and doing phone and in-person sales. Sometimes you develop a tendency to say right because you want to make sure the person is at the same stage of understanding as you are in the stage of explanation. So if you're giving a gym tour, hey, that makes sense, right? So I catch myself doing that all the fucking time. So those are my goals for the channel. And hopefully, I gave you guys a little something to think about moving forward. And you can use it in anywhere of your life. If you don't know who's right or wrong, well, what are the values? Well, it could be the values of the relationship, it could be the values of the business, it could be the values of the social circle. Let's say it's you and your boys, and we always say yes to the funnest option as like as a group of friends. We made a commitment in high school to stay friends for life. Every time we get together, we always say yes to the most fun option. Well, then maybe skydiving would be the most fun option. So then, oh, what should we do? Should we go watch the game or should we go skydive? Well, then what's the value structure? Is it adrenaline or is it, you know, something different? And the more you could flesh that out, I feel like you can get a really good tool to filter a lot of decision making through. So that's what I'm doing on the channel, moving forward, constraining myself, pushing myself to get more creative in an attempt to develop a style of communication that is more valuable to those involved and more authentic to myself, therefore attracting more authentic people who resonate with me to subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, guys, I know that got a little weird for you right now, or maybe you got a little real for you, and maybe you fuck with it super hard. But yeah, that's the show for tonight. I love you guys. I will see you in tomorrow's live. I do a live every day. Make sure you have your notifications on because no telling when I might go live. I'm also committed to pushing earlier and earlier. So today I am ending the live at about the time I usually start the live. So that's called progress, right? It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Anyways,